Mohammed is a young man who a few years ago was in his home in Somalia, and he was at home when gunmen came to his door. They put a gun to his father's head and killed him. His mom told him to flee and get to Kenya, but he's arriving here tonight.
That's him!
He's coming. He's coming.
That's him! Oh my god, look at this! Oh my god, look at this!
Resettlement is a mechanism to save people's lives. The US government has a ceiling that Congress puts on our refugee resettlement program every year of approximately 70,000 refugees. But every year, tens of thousands of resettlement slots go unfilled. In the past 5 years, over 100,000 resettlement slots go unfilled because there are not enough actors in the space working to identify refugees for resettlement. I founded Mapendo to identify more refugees, to help fill those slots, to help change and rebuild lives.
أبي محاكنته واحد شيء هذه محاكنته حد شيء أو إن وطن كخبصتي وولادي أنا أيجي مي أركن لكن أنا أركع جرو جديد سان كفير سنين أنا هو يدي مركز كبعد إنه داخل كبودة تصنع كسوار أنا جاني إني دلايان لكن ما كنت بعد
Before we helped John and Odette resettle to the US, they fled violence in the Congo to Burundi and were put in a camp called Gatumba. A few months later, extremists crossed the border, surrounded the camp, and massacred the people in that camp with guns, machetes, gasoline fires, and grenades. It was mostly women and children who were killed there. About 250 people lost their lives or were injured in that massacre.
dusanga ari abantu baje nyine kutwica dusanga abantu bageze hagati gupfa benshi byatwaye amasaha maremare kuva saa 6 kugeza saa 8 bonyine misiyo yari bazanye irangiye baragenda abantu bari basigaye tumukubokora mu abasohotse babiruka bahunga bumvishe ko Adu yagiye baragaruka tuza kureba bapfuye mu kamera atangiye gushaka mu gusora intumbi n'inkomeri mbese kuzigizayo ntizishe ariko ni umwanya nuko umuti wabisobanura ni umwanya twavuze ngo twarahunze kuruta bapfuye sibyo.
There are lots and lots of refugees who go to refugee camps, but they often flee those camps because they're attacked in those camps. And when they flee those camps, they effectively go off the humanitarian aid radar screen. No one is there to help them. These are the people who end up in urban slum areas in some of the most difficult and precarious situations. They're often widows and children and orphans who have no one to turn to for help.
wadadan lugeynay wada ila ahayd marda waxaan raacay dad reer baadiya wadada lugeynay ayaga ku lagdarsan raacay waxaan seexanay geedaha hoostooda marna meesh ku maqlo libaax codkiis badan meesha ku maqlo geedan fuulay geedka ka seexanay reer baadiyaha marba meeshan ku arko aan ka qaadanay ayaga hilib siinay all the way saasan ku imaaday ilaa ay borderka Kenya.
I cannot even picture, a young boy who is walking with the strangers. He doesn't even know anyone, none of these people, but knows that they are going to Kenya, and someday, somehow, he will get help for somewhere.
There are bandits and warlords and criminals who act with impunity and attack and kill people.
And my fear was, and even though he was the oldest son, my fear was he still had this guilt and blame himself that he will blame himself and feel guilt and will go back and join those who are fighting for no reason. Because every single young man who's the oldest who witnessed their father were killed, there's anger. And that anger is to revenge, to fight back.
These conflicts last for 5, 10, 15, 20 years with no respite. People have fled those conflicts and have nowhere to turn for assistance.
Ibyo twabonaga twabona ko bikora kuko ari akazi kabo kuko twe tutari tuzi fo yabo base yabo na droit zabo za statut asere bagendera ku mpunzi.
This is the problem of the UN all over the world. The number of the refugees are higher and nobody can have a good job to control that. That is the excuse they use.
In Africa, every year, tens of thousands of additional refugees could have been resettled if there were enough actors in the field of resettlement identifying people. The UN is the primary actor in this field, and they do a fantastic job, but they are often they don't have enough capacity to do the work. There's often, I've found, a lot of layers of communication and bureaucracy, and the UN themselves also says that they would like to reach out and collaborate with other partners because they don't have the capacity to do this work on their own.
Mapendo filled the hole that no other organization can fill it. People who are left out. No organization can do that. UN is not doing that. Let us be clear about that. It's your father there or your mother there, and if they say we don't have father and mother, that will be the end of the case. The same thing with Mohammed. They will ask him about his mom and dad. If they are not here, he will not come. So you can see there are people who left in the middle here and nobody asking about them, and Shasha is picking them up. It's amazing to me, because I know I'm a refugee.
As any agency does, they did so many good things, and without UN, I think I wouldn't be here, you know. And also without Mapendo, Mohammed wouldn't be here.
In general, when people think about Africa and you think about the millions of people who've lost their lives in conflict, it's overwhelming. It's something that you immediately put out of your mind as too complex and overwhelming to actually deal with. When the fact is, if you get involved with specific organizations that are really active, you can see the difference that you can make. We started Mapendo to reach out to these people who fall through the cracks of humanitarian aid. We're there so they can turn to us. We're there to protect the people who are forgotten.